In a shadowy, sprawling chamber lit by the soft glow of bioluminescent panels, the Great Council of Andromeda convened. Representatives from various alien civilizations filled the room, their forms ranging from the insectoid cliktars of Thrilix to the ethereal, gaseous forms of the Nebulons. At the head of the chamber, Elder Mithra, a wise and ancient being from the crystalline planet of Crichton, addressed the gathering. "We face extinction," Mithra declared, his voice resonating through the translation devices. "Krazul's forces grow stronger by the day. Our fleets are no match for his war machines." A murmur swept through the crowd, a mix of fear and urgency. From the corner of the room, Xanath, a skilled pilot who had fallen from grace after a navigational error cost a crucial battle, listened intently. His reputation tarnished. He saw this as a chance to redeem himself. Elder Mithra continued. "Our ancestors spoke of a mighty weapon located in the Sol system, on a planet called Earth. It is known only as human." A Clictar delegate buzzed. "And you believe these old tales? A mythical weapon to solve our real problems?" "It's not just a myth," interjected Zara, a renowned historian from the library worlds of Altamare. "I have studied Earth. Their capacity for war is matched by their capacity for peace. If this human is what I think it could turn the tide." The room fell silent. Xanath saw his opportunity. Standing, he projected his voice. "Let me go to Earth. I will find this human and bring back the power we need." Elder Mithra regarded him thoughtfully. "Why should we entrust such a critical mission to you, Xanath?" Xanath met Mithra's gaze. "Because I have nothing left to lose and everything to prove. I know the stakes." Another member of the council, a humanoid named Tress, spoke up. "I have seen Xanath in battle. He is impulsive, but none can question his courage or skill. If there is hope on Earth, he will find it." Mithra nodded slowly. "Very well, Xanath. You will go to Earth. Zara, you will assist him from here, guiding him through your research." Xanath bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Elder. I will not fail." As the meeting adjourned, Xanath and Zara approached a holographic terminal. Zara activated the device, and maps of Earth appeared in mid-air. "Your first destination is Colorado. There's an energy signature there that doesn't match any known human technology." "Colorado," Xanath repeated, studying the swirling blue and green planet displayed before him. "How do I blend in? Their societies are complex." Zara smiled. "You'll adapt, Xanath. You're resourceful. And you won't be completely alone. We've arranged a contact, an ex-military Earthling who knows the terrain and might understand what human truly is." "An Earthling ally," Xanath mused. "Let's hope they're friendly." "You'll need to be cautious and learn quickly. Earth is unpredictable, but its inhabitants are fascinating," Zara explained, her eyes twinkling with excitement. As the holograms flickered, Xanath felt the weight of his task. To find human, restore his honor, and perhaps save his people. With a final nod to Zara, he turned to prepare for his journey. The adventure of a lifetime awaited him on a small blue planet, light years away. Xanath's vessel descended quietly into the night sky, the twinkling lights of a small Colorado town spread out below like a constellation on Earth. As the ship landed discreetly in a secluded woodland, Xanath prepared himself for the most challenging part of his mission, blending in with the humans. He donned his human disguise, a technology that morphed his alien features into those of a mid-30s human male. Xanath checked his reflection in the mirror. Brown hair, a slight beard, and an expression of tentative curiosity stared back at him. It was convincing, yet the weight of his task made his heart race. He ventured into town under the cover of darkness, his senses assaulted by a barrage of new smells, sounds, and sights. He observed humans engaging in nightly activities, their behaviors both strange and intriguing. Xanath made his way to a local diner, a place he had been told would be essential for gathering information and observing human interactions. He sat at the counter, ordered coffee, the staple drink he had learned about in his briefings, and tuned into the conversations around him. A rugged man in his late 60s, with a face marked by years of outdoor work, took the stool next to him. He introduced himself as Joe. "First time in Crestview?" he asked, eyeing Xanath with a mix of curiosity and friendliness. "Yes," Xanath replied, trying to mimic the local accent. "Just passing through." Joe smiled, revealing a row of slightly crooked teeth. "Well, you picked a quiet place to stop. What brings you to our little corner of the world?" Xanath hesitated, searching for a plausible cover story. I'm a writer, looking to capture the essence of small-town America. The people, the culture. Is that so? Joe seemed intrigued. Well, you'll find no shortage of stories here. Every person in this diner has a tale worth telling, myself included. He chuckled, then turned more serious. You know, I was in the military for 30 years. Seen things that might interest a writer like you. Xanath saw an opportunity. I would love to hear about your experiences, if you're willing to share. Joe nodded, pleased. How about I show you around tomorrow? Give you a real taste of Crestview. Grateful for the chance to learn more about humanity, and possibly the human weapon, Xanath agreed eagerly. I'd like that very much, Joe. Thank you. As they parted ways for the night, Xanath felt a surge of relief mixed with excitement. Joe might just be the key to unlocking the secrets he needed. As he walked back to his hidden ship, Xanath realized that understanding humans might be more complicated and enriching than he had ever imagined. His mission was not only about retrieving a weapon, it was about understanding a whole new world. The morning sun cast a golden glow over Crestview as Joe picked Xanath up in his old, rugged pickup truck. They drove past fields of golden wheat, cows lazily grazing, and the occasional deer darting through the trees. Joe pointed out landmarks and shared snippets of the town's history, each story embedding a deeper sense of the place and its people. After a hearty breakfast at a local cafe, Joe took Xanath to a quieter spot outside town, a place overlooking a peaceful river. It was here, amidst the gentle sounds of nature, that Joe decided to open up about his military past. You see, Xanath, Joe began, his eyes reflecting the river's tranquil flow. My time in the service taught me a lot about the duality of man. We're capable of great kindness and terrible harm. It's a balance, always a balance. Xanath listened intently, absorbing every word. This concept of duality seemed to align with the ancient texts about human that Zara had referenced. Joe continued. There was this one operation, a covert mission during a conflict that was never officially acknowledged. We were told we were retrieving a high-value asset. What we didn't know was that it would change the way we viewed everything. Intrigued, Xanath leaned in. What did you find, Joe? Joe sighed, looking off into the distance. It wasn't a what, Xanath. It was a who. A scientist whose work could have either cured diseases or created weapons of mass destruction. The asset was his mind, his knowledge. That's when I realized, power isn't always about weapons or strength. It's about what you know, how you use that knowledge. Xanath's thoughts raced. This mirrored the prophecy of human more closely than he could have anticipated. The weapon was not a singular entity or tool, but perhaps a symbol of ultimate potential. Joe, Xanath ventured cautiously, do you believe that one person can be the key to salvation or destruction? Absolutely, Joe replied without hesitation. But it's never just about that one person. It's about who supports them, opposes them, and the choices they all make. Xanath pondered this deeply. The mission was evolving before his eyes, shifting from a search for a weapon to understanding a complex, interwoven tapestry of human potential. Thank you, Joe. Your insights are invaluable, Xanath said, genuinely grateful. Joe chuckled softly. Glad to help, but remember, I'm just one guy with stories to tell. This world and its people are full of surprises. As they returned to town, Xanath felt a profound shift in his perspective. His mission was no longer a simple retrieval operation, but a quest to uncover and possibly protect a power so immense it transcended physical form, the collective potential of humanity itself. Later that night, under a cloak of stars, a sense of urgency permeated the air. Xanath, now more attuned to the rhythms of human life thanks to Joe's mentorship, felt a strange disturbance, a prickling sensation that signaled danger. His instincts were confirmed when a series of quiet but deliberate movements encircled Joe's farmhouse. Xanath peered out from an upstairs window, his night-adjusted eyes scanning the darkness. Shadows moved with purpose through the cornfields, their forms neither human nor animal. Krazul's assassins had arrived, and they were here for him. He quickly moved downstairs to warn Joe, who was locking up for the night. Joe, we need to be cautious. We're not alone, Xanath whispered, urgency lacing his voice. Joe, understanding the gravity, nodded and moved to a wall panel, pressing a sequence of numbers. A hidden compartment opened, revealing an assortment of firearms. I kept these for an emergency, though I hoped I'd never need them again, he said, handing a rifle to Xanath. Armed and alert, they positioned themselves by the back door, waiting for the intruders to make their move. The first figure emerged from the shadows, its outline distorted by a shimmering cloaking device. Xanath recognized the technology. It was standard for Krezul's elite forces. The firefight that ensued was swift and fierce. Xanath utilized his advanced combat skills, combining them with Joe's tactical expertise. Each shot Xanath fired was calculated, his alien accuracy complementing Joe's strategic use of the farmhouse's layout for cover. After several tense minutes, the skirmish ended as quickly as it had begun. The remaining assailants retreated, their mission thwarted. Joe and Xanath surveyed the aftermath, ensuring no immediate threat remained. "That was too close," Joe breathed out, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. "They found us sooner than I expected." Xanath nodded, his mind racing with implications. "Krezul's desperation to stop me suggests we're on the right track. But we can't stay here now. It's not safe." Joe agreed, his mind already moving to logistics. "We'll head to my cabin in the mountains. It's remote, fortified. We can plan our next move from there." As they packed essential supplies, Xanath felt a renewed sense of partnership. Joe wasn't just a guide, he was a comrade in arms now. Together, they would need to outmaneuver Krezul's network, which was undoubtedly vast and vigilant. The drive to the cabin was quiet, each man lost in thought. Xanath considered the magnitude of his mission, now intertwined with Joe's life. The stakes were higher than ever, and the enemy was relentless. Yet, amidst the looming threat, Xanath felt a burgeoning resolve. This planet and its people were worth fighting for, and he was no longer just an outsider. He was a protector, ready to defend his newfound home. As dawn broke over the rugged mountains, Xanath and Joe reached the safety of the secluded cabin. Surrounded by dense pine forests and the crisp mountain air, the cabin offered a stark contrast to the gentle landscapes of Crestview. Here, the rugged wilderness mirrored the harsh realities they now faced. Inside, the cabin was fortified and functional, stocked with provisions and equipped with surveillance technology. Joe had prepared it as a fallback position, a sanctuary from threats both known and unforeseen. "Let's get to work," Joe said, booting up an array of monitors that displayed various feeds from cameras hidden around the perimeter. "We need to stay one step ahead." Xanath, meanwhile, unpacked a small, sophisticated device, a compact alien communicator. "I need to update Zara on our situation," he explained, initiating a secure transmission back to his home galaxy. Communicating through the device, Xanath detailed their encounter with Krezul's assassins and their move to the mountains. Zara's response was a mix of concern and motivation. "You must continue to learn from humanity," she advised. "Their unpredictability could be an advantage." Taking this to heart, Xanath turned to Joe. "Teach me more about how humans handle crises. How do you adapt so quickly?" Joe pondered the question, then responded with a proposal. "Let's take a short hike. I want to show you something that might help explain." As they trekked through the forest, Joe led Xanath to a lookout point overlooking a vast valley. "See, in the military we were taught to adapt to our surroundings, to use the terrain to our advantage. It's the same with life. Humans are resilient because our world demands it of us." The metaphor wasn't lost on Xanath. The varied and challenging terrains of Earth were not just physical landscapes, but also reflections of human experiences. "I see," he acknowledged. "Adaptability isn't just a strategy, it's a survival trait." "Yes," Joe confirmed. "And it's about using whatever resources you have at your disposal, whether that's technology, the natural environment, or each other." Back at the cabin, Xanath mulled over Joe's words while they prepared for any potential threats. This period of calm allowed him to reflect not only on his mission, but on the profound complexities of human nature. In the quiet solitude, Xanath's respect for humanity deepened. Each story Joe shared, each strategy they devised together, enriched his understanding of human strength and ingenuity. As night fell, the cabin, once a mere hideout, had transformed into a crucible of learning and preparation. Here, far from the alien council's reach, Xanath was not just gathering intelligence. He was witnessing the embodiment of the mysterious power known as human. With each passing day, his mission grew less about harnessing a weapon and more about protecting a newfound ally in a shared struggle against tyranny. The tranquility of the mountain hideout was short-lived. By mid-morning, Xanath's advanced sensors detected an anomaly approaching from the east. It wasn't long before the faint hum of engines became audible, a clear sign that Krezul's forces had not given up their pursuit. This time, they came prepared for a more significant confrontation. Xanath alerted Joe, who was restocking supplies in the basement. "They're coming with more firepower. We need to fortify our position," he called out. Joe ascended the stairs, his expression serious. Let's set up defenses. I've got traps and explosives from my military days stashed away. We'll make them regret coming here. Together, they strategically placed traps around the perimeter and took up positions with a clear view of the approaching threat. Xanath utilized a high-powered scope to survey the advancing forces, small armored vehicles and a troop of heavily armed soldiers. As the enemy drew closer, the tension mounted. Joe gripped his rifle, his eyes steady on the forest line. Xanath monitored the sensors, ready to activate the traps at the optimal moment. The first explosion rocked the ground as an enemy vehicle triggered a landmine. Shouts and chaos followed as the soldiers scrambled, disoriented by the sudden attack. Xanath and Joe used the confusion to their advantage, taking down several enemies with precise shots. "This is just the beginning," Joe shouted over the noise, loading another round into his rifle. "Hold your ground." The battle raged on, with both sides exchanging gunfire. Xanath, moving with agility and precision, took out a sniper attempting to flank their position. His training in alien combat techniques combined effectively with Joe's guerrilla warfare tactics. During a brief lull in the fighting, Xanath checked the cabin's surveillance system. "They're regrouping," he warned Joe. "Looks like they're planning another push." "We'll be ready for them," Joe assured, checking their ammunition supply. "We've held off worse than this." As the enemy launched their second assault, Xanath and Joe remained resolute. They worked seamlessly together, anticipating each other's moves and providing cover fire. The bond forged in the heat of battle was palpable, their mutual respect and trust growing with each shared glance and coordinated maneuver. After hours of intense combat, the tide turned in their favor. The remaining attackers, realizing the futility of their mission, began to retreat. Xanath and Joe, though weary, watched them go, knowing they had secured a victory but at a considerable cost. As they surveyed the damage to the cabin and surrounding area, the reality of their situation settled in. "We can't stay here anymore," Xanath concluded, his voice tinged with regret. "It's only a matter of time before they regroup and come at us harder." Joe nodded, understanding the necessity of their departure. "We'll need to find a new base, one step ahead of Krazul's reach." With the cabin no longer a safe haven, they packed up their essential gear, ready to move on. The fight had not only defended their lives, but had also reinforced the critical importance of their mission. As they prepared to leave the charred remains of their temporary refuge, their determination to stop Krazul's tyranny was stronger than ever, fueled by their shared experiences and the undeniable courage of humanity that Xanath had grown to admire and protect. The tranquility of the mountain hideout was short-lived. By mid-morning, Xanath's advanced sensors detected an anomaly approaching from the east. It wasn't long before the faint hum of engines became audible, a clear sign that Krazul's forces had not given up their pursuit. This time, they came prepared for a more significant confrontation. Xanath alerted Joe, who was restocking supplies in the basement. "They're coming with more firepower. We need to fortify our position," he called out. Joe ascended the stairs, his expression serious. "Let's set up defenses. I've got traps and explosives from my military days stashed away. We'll make them regret coming here." Together, they strategically placed traps around the perimeter and took up positions with a clear view of the approaching threat. Xanath utilized a high-powered scope to survey the advancing forces, small armored vehicles and a troop of heavily armed soldiers. As the enemy drew closer, the tension mounted. Joe gripped his rifle, his eyes steady on the forest line. Xanath monitored the sensors, ready to activate the traps at the optimal moment. The first explosion rocked the ground as an enemy vehicle triggered a landmine. Shouts and chaos followed as the soldiers scrambled, disoriented by the sudden attack. Xanath and Joe used the confusion to their advantage, taking down several enemies with precise shots. "This is just the beginning," Joe shouted over the noise, loading another round into his rifle. "Hold your ground." The battle raged on, with both sides exchanging gunfire. Xanath, moving with agility and precision, took out a sniper attempting to flank their position. His training in alien combat techniques combined effectively with Joe's guerrilla warfare tactics. During a brief lull in the fighting, Xanath checked the cabin's surveillance system. "They're regrouping," he warned Joe. "Looks like they're planning another push." "We'll be ready for them," Joe assured, checking their ammunition supply. "We've held off worse than this." As the enemy launched their second assault, Xanath and Joe remained resolute. They worked seamlessly together, anticipating each other's moves and providing cover fire. The bond forged in the heat of battle was palpable, their mutual respect and trust growing with each shared glance and coordinated maneuver. After hours of intense combat, the tide turned in their favor. The remaining attackers, realizing the futility of their mission, began to retreat. Xanath and Joe, though weary, watched them go, knowing they had secured a victory but at a considerable cost. As they surveyed the damage to the cabin and surrounding area, the reality of their situation settled in. "We can't stay here anymore?" Xanath concluded, his voice tinged with regret. "It's only a matter of time before they regroup and come at us harder." Joe nodded, understanding the necessity of their departure. "We'll need to find a new base, one step ahead of Krazul's reach." With the cabin no longer a safe haven, they packed up their essential gear, ready to move on. The fight had not only defended their lives, but had also reinforced the critical importance of their mission. As they prepared to leave the charred remains of their temporary refuge, their determination to stop Krazul's tyranny was stronger than ever, fueled by their shared experiences and the undeniable courage of humanity that Xanath had grown to admire and protect. Relocating under the cover of darkness, Xanath and Joe found their way to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of a nearby city. The building, once a bustling hub for local manufacturers, now offered the perfect cover for them to regroup and plan their final counterattack against Krazul's forces. In the dim light of the warehouse, Xanath set up a makeshift command center, using salvage technology to enhance their communication and surveillance capabilities. "We can't let them catch us off guard again," he said, meticulously adjusting the settings on a radar screen. Joe, meanwhile, was busy reinforcing the entrances and setting up new defensive perimeters. "This place might not look like much, but it's got good bones. We'll make it a fortress," he declared, welding metal plates over windows. As they worked, Xanath reflected on their journey and the insights gained from each encounter with both humans and enemy forces. His respect for Earth's inhabitants had grown immensely, recognizing their indomitable spirit in the face of adversity, a trait he now shared. With their defenses in place, Xanath and Joe gathered a small group of trusted allies, locals who had caught wind of the conflict and chosen to stand with them against Krazul's tyranny. Xanath briefed them on the situation, using a holographic display to outline their strategy. "We strike at dawn," he announced, the room filled with a mix of tension and resolve. The night passed with everyone on high alert. Xanath took the first watch, his senses tuned to any sign of movement outside. Beside him, Joe kept a steady hand on his rifle, the silence between them a comfortable bond formed through shared trials. As dawn approached, the distant rumble of engines signaled the beginning of the onslaught. Krazul's forces, larger and more determined than before, advanced toward the warehouse. Xanath activated the external cameras, watching as armored vehicles and troops prepared to breach their defenses. "This is it," Joe whispered, readying himself beside Xanath. "Let's show them what we're made of." The battle erupted into chaos as soon as Krazul's forces reached their perimeter. Explosives set by Joe detonated, halting the first wave of attackers and causing confusion among their ranks. Xanath and the allies unleashed a barrage of gunfire, holding the line as wave after wave tried to overcome their defenses. During a critical moment, Xanath realized they could not win by defense alone. "We need to take the fight to them," he said, grabbing a plasma grenade. With precise timing, he threw it into a cluster of enemies, clearing a path directly to their command vehicle. Joe and several allies followed Xanath's lead, pushing forward with renewed vigor. They reached the vehicle, confronting a high-ranking lieutenant of Krazul's army. A tense standoff ensued, but the combined strength and determination of Xanath and his team prevailed. With the lieutenant captured and their forces in disarray, the remnants of Krazul's army retreated. The battle was over, but the war was not yet won. Xanath knew this victory was crucial, not just for their survival, but as a significant blow to Krazul's ambitions. Exhausted yet triumphant, Xanath, Joe, and their allies returned to the warehouse. They knew Krazul would regroup, but for now, they celebrated their victory. Xanath looked around at the faces of those he had fought with, realizing he had found more than just allies on Earth. He had found a second family. As the sun rose over the city, casting light on the scars of battle, Xanath felt a profound connection to this planet and its people. His mission had changed him in ways he could never have anticipated. Earth was no longer just a place to complete a task. It was a home to defend, a community to cherish. The aftermath of the last stand left the cityscape marked by scars of battle, yet there was a palpable sense of hope as dawn broke over the horizon. The enemy had retreated, their numbers dwindled, and their morale shattered by the fierce resistance they had encountered. Xanath and Joe, surrounded by their small but resolute band of allies, surveyed the damage and began to plan for the future. In the quiet moments following their victory, Xanath reached out to Zara and the Council once more, reporting on their success and what he had learned about humanity. The Council, initially skeptical of Earth's strategic value, listened intently as Xanath described the courage, ingenuity, and resilience of his human comrades. "It's not just about their ability to fight," Xanath explained. "It's about their spirit, their willingness to stand up for what's right, even against seemingly insurmountable odds. That's the real power of human." Moved by Xanath's words, the Council voted unanimously to initiate diplomatic relations with Earth. They extended an invitation to Earth's leaders to join the Galactic Council, recognizing the planet not only as a strategic ally, but as a vital member of the galactic community. Meanwhile, Xanath decided to make Earth his permanent home. The bonds he had formed with Joe and the other Earthlings were too strong to abandon. Joe, who had come to see Xanath as a brother-in-arms, welcomed him with open arms. "We've got a lot of rebuilding to do," Joe mentioned one morning as they walked through the recovering town. "But with folks like you on our side, I think we're going to be just fine." Xanath smiled, feeling a deep sense of belonging. "I'm here for the long haul. There's no other place I'd rather be." As they collaborated on reconstruction efforts, Xanath's knowledge of advanced technologies provided a significant boost. They repaired homes and infrastructure, implemented new energy solutions, and gradually transformed the town into a model of resilience and innovation. One evening, as they stood watching a particularly beautiful sunset, Joe turned to Xanath. "You know, I used to think of space as this cold, distant place. Now I see it as full of possibilities, full of new friends and new beginnings." Xanath nodded, his eyes reflecting the last light of the day. "And I used to think of Earth as just a mission objective. Now it's my home, filled with family and hope." The story of Xanath and Earth spread far and wide, inspiring countless others across galaxies. Earth, once a remote and unassuming planet, had become a beacon, proving that even the smallest voices could echo across the universe, calling for peace, unity, and mutual protection. As Xanath looked towards the stars, he knew that the future was bright and filled with potential. Humanity had taught him that the power of one could indeed change the course of history, but the power of many, united, could transcend all boundaries and redefine the cosmos.